Hey, what's up guys? This is Lucas and you're watching Fine Tuning. Today we're going to be checking out a very special guitar. This is made by the folks at Eastman, and this is the SB59-V. So this is essentially, as you can see, a very traditional type solid body guitar. But what makes this guitar so cool is the way that it's built. The V part of it means varnish. So varnish is a finish that you don't often see on guitars, particularly on electric guitars, because it's a very labor-intensive thing to put varnish on a guitar, or on anything really, but to put varnish on a guitar and have it look right. So there's a lot of kind of elbow grease effort that goes into making that look right, and this guitar has got that. So one of the upsides to varnish is that it is a gloss type finish, especially when you've done it the way that they've done it, which is a French polishing technique. If you're curious about that, there's lots of videos on YouTube that explain what French polishing is, but it's a very cool, old school way of finishing an instrument. And it's something that you see a lot of violin makers do. And Eastman is a company that is very predominant in making kind of orchestral type instruments like violins and cellos and all that kind of stuff. So this guitar, they've applied that same kind of finish to, the varnish finish, and what you get is a beautiful gloss finish, but it doesn't look like a piece of candy, like it's been dipped in something, like some of the really thicker kind of polyurethane type finishes look. It's a very old looking finish. Even though this is a brand new guitar, it looks very old. And to add to that, they've gone a step further and kind of gently, and I say gently because I really mean gently, aged the guitar. And it's aged in all the right ways. Like you just have a little bit of kind of, I don't know if you can see it here, just a little bit of wear where the arm would ride. There's some spot, like on the back, where it's just like a little bit, look at, you know, kind of like the guitar has been played, but not abused. It's been loved. And so it feels very played in, but in just the nicest way. Which is great. So the other cool thing about varnish is that it's very thin. So this guitar is, I think they do I'm pretty sure they do the color coats with nitrocellulose, which would be like, in this case, the burst, which they call gold burst, which to my eyes is kind of like somewhere between iced tea, desert, something kind of, you know, like it's not quite a full red. There's a little bit of a red tint to it, but it's not a full red. It's more like a burnt orange, and then it kind of lightens up to a more amber hue in the middle. It's just beautiful. And then of course you got the kind of typical mahogany back here. And so the finish on this just, to me, looks as close as I have ever seen a company get to what the finish on real old guitars look like. I have a '64 Gibson B25, and that finish has checked some, and it has a certain look about it, and this very much reminds me of that and some other kind of older type guitars that I've played. So now that we've talked a little bit about the finish, which I think is kind of the biggest sort of feature that makes this guitar sort of unique, is the way that it's finished. But let's also talk about the specs and the build, because that's also very important, and I think it should be known, all the stuff that goes into this. So first of all, like I said before, this is a very traditional type solid body guitar. So it is a one-piece mahogany back, so there's no seams or anything, it's just one slab of mahogany, and a one-piece mahogany neck. There's no additional wings up here to make the little tips come out like other companies do. This is just one piece of mahogany. And then you have a two-piece, beautifully flamed maple top. This is a solid maple top. There's no veneers or anything. This is exactly what you would get on a very expensive, you know, custom shop instrument. It's a beautiful piece of maple that kind of dances in the light, and you got some wonderful figuring going on. Just awesome looking guitar. It has an ebony fingerboard, which is just black as night and polished like glass. It is just so well done. It has what appears to be a bone nut. If it's not, man, that is the best bone nut fake I have ever seen in my life, but man, I'm pretty sure that's a bone nut. It's got vintage style tuners, kind of Kluson style tuners. I don't generally like these kind of tuners because I don't think they hold very well, but these hold very well. They are just the right amount of like stiff enough that you don't feel like you're gonna bump it by accident, but not so stiff that it feels like the tuner's not working. So they hold great. The guitar stays in tune very well. It's got, I believe this is, I think it's Gotoh hardware, but it's kind of very gently aged so that it's kind of got a little bit of patina on it. It looks correct with the rest of the guitar. It's not overly glossy. You have the traditional kind of 2-volume, 2-tone setup like you would expect on this type of guitar. I believe these are also CTS pots, and I think they're orange drop caps. We'll have to look in there and see. I'm pretty sure. And these are Lawlor pickups, humbuckers, and I think these are Lawlor Imperial pickups that are made specifically for Eastman guitars. And they sound wonderful. To me, they've just done such a good job of getting all of the things that you would want in this kind of late 50s style guitar and made it just feel, I think, about as close as you can get to the real deal without having to pay, you know, $150,000, $200,000 for something like this. I have been fortunate. I've never played a real like 59 burst, but I have played a lot of guitars that were made at the same time in the same factory, just different models, but in the same kind of vicinity. And this guitar kind of really just oozes all of that feel, all that mojo that you get from one of those old things, and it's just a joy to play. So this has been super fun for me to mess around with. This guitar also has a ebony or an ebony headstock overlay. It's got a beautiful inlaid Eastman logo, which looks like either pearl or abalone. It's a little hard to tell. And then again, kind of pearl, sort of trapezoid type inlays. The fretwork is just outstandingly good. This feels so much like a custom shop instrument. I have played a lot of custom shop instruments, and this feels, I mean, just the attention to detail, all of the little things. I mean, it's exactly what you would want it to be. So let's talk a little bit about the company. So Eastman is a Chinese company, or at least the factory is in China. And I know some of you are gonna go, ooh, China, I don't know. All right, well, let me just bust that one for you right here. This is not like, a lot of times when guitar companies reach a certain point, they might start outsourcing things to China and to kind of keep the cost down. And so they'll have another company in China, a warehouse, a factory, whatever, build them stuff kind of to their specs. This is not the case with Eastman. They are their own entity. They build all of their own instruments, and that's what they do. They don't build instruments for anyone else. They just build their own stuff. They build orchestral type instruments, they build acoustic guitars and semi-hollow body and hollow body guitars, and then this is a kind of their foray into the solid body world. And it is just spectacularly done. And these come in, I think, right around about $2,000 American, which again, you may be thinking, well, gosh, for that much I could buy, you know, X Les Paul or whatever. Yes, you could. However, what you can't buy is the equivalent Gibson to this guitar. So if you were to buy the Gibson, essentially, version of this guitar, where it's like a custom shop, historic with the aging and all the all the really little minute details to kind of make it feel and look old and to, I mean, really get it accurate, you would be paying $6,000, $7,000, $8,000 any day of the week. This, brand new, is $2,000. And it is, I can tell you, I've played a lot of guitars and a lot of custom shop guitars and a lot of really nice kind of boutique handmade guitars. And this is as good a guitar as I have ever played in that kind of, I mean, it's just dead on what you would want it to be. So I can't speak highly enough about this. It's just fantastically well put together. And I just think this is, if you want a really, really kind of close approximation of those kind of late 50s, early 60s guitars, and you don't want to buy one of the original ones or pay $8,000 some for a custom shop version of one of those guitars, I really highly recommend you check one of these out, because this is just incredibly good quality. And it's like I said, it's just the right amount of aged so that when you pick it up, it feels like an old guitar. It doesn't look like a brand new guitar. Although they do have a model that's, I think this their standard SB59, and that's done with nitro, and everything looks pretty much new on it. So if you don't want the kind of varnish aged look, you can get pretty much the same guitar in a more new format. And I think it's actually a little bit less as well, as far as how much it costs. But anyway, now that I've blabbed on about it, let's check out some of the sounds you can get with this guitar. Let's start with a kind of pretty clean sound, and we'll build just a little bit of reverb on, and we'll start with our bridge pickup and work our way through. So here's the bridge pickup. Here's both pickups together. All right, and here's the neck humbucker by itself. This guitar just has the most beautiful, warm, woody kind of vintage humbucker guitar, solid body guitar tone that you could ever want. Let's put it on kind of like a medium gain setting, and you can kind of hear it in the more of like a classic rock type mode. most guitars will do pretty close to what you want them to do, as long as you just kind of play the way that you need to play and you kind of, have your amp set up right. You can get most guitars to do something pretty decent clean, something pretty decent medium gain, something pretty decent high gain. And generally the guitar tends to want to do, like, maybe it wants to do high gain better, or maybe it wants to do clean better, or something like that. You don't often find a guitar that you can literally do anything with and go, man, that sounds great. This is one of those guitars. So let me show you what I'm talking about. So you've already heard like a beautiful kind of vintage clean, kind of just starting to be pushed a little bit sound. And then, kind of a medium gain Zepp type sound. And then now I'm going to kick on to the kind of lead channel of the Boogie. And you can hear that I could just play super aggressive heavy stuff with this. And it sounds great. So anyway, that sounds like this. Okay, well that's the Eastman SB59-V in beautiful gold burst finish, varnish finish, like I said before. Highly recommend that you check one of these out. Like I said, I know there's a little bit of a stigma that comes with guitars made overseas, particularly in China or Indonesia or something like that, but and this guitar is made in China. But man, this guitar just defies all logic to what you would think it is. Like, for the amount of money that you pay for this guitar, the amount of guitar that you get in return is incredible. This, like I said, feels as much like a custom shop instrument as anything I had ever played. So I just can't speak highly enough of how well made these guitars are. This might be like possibly my new favorite this kind of guitar, which is really saying something because I love that Greco on the wall behind me. That's an actual like 77. So it's got some age on it anyway, but there is just something magic that they've done with this guitar, and it just sounds fantastic and it feels great and it stays in tune and just everything you could want it to be. So anyway, I hope this has been fun and enjoyable for you. I hope you learned something. Go check out Eastman's website. I will leave a link to them in the description. Thank you to the guys at Eastman for sending me this guitar to check out. I'm going to have a ton of fun playing with this in the future, and I look forward to taking it out and gigging with it some. So anyway, until next time, I will catch you later.